Hello, hello. Anybody home? Hi, how you doing? Boom, boom, boom. Can you go any better than starting a show off with Journey? I don't think so. Wow. That was an awesome choice of music. Robert surprised me with that. Thank you very much, Robert. One of the best voices ever is Steve Perry by far. I was lucky enough let's see, wow, this is way back. Whew, I think it was 1981, maybe. Wow. Anyways, so there was an old radio station called KMET out of Los Angeles, and my friend at the time, she won tickets there, and she invited me to go, and I didn't think it was a big deal. It was just the Rose Bowl, right? Not a big deal. Turned out to be 100,000 people there. There was some group that started off the show called Aldo Nova. Didn't know much about them. And then there was a cool group called Triumph, where they actually had two drummers, two drum sets, everything. I go, wow, that was interesting. And then some group came up with a Godzilla character that came out of nowhere called Blue Oyster Cult, and I'm like, wow, that is pretty good. And then guess who headed the show? That's right, Journey finished off the show. Holy moly! That was my introduction to concerts, and that was absolutely, absolutely incredible, or somebody may say badass. And wow, lot of fun. So yes, let's lead the show with Journey because Robert's right. You cannot stop believing. Absolutely. Where's that guy, Robert Imbrielli?
I haven't stopped believing.
Yeah, but it's tough, isn't it, Robert? Let's be honest. Let's not be these pretend influencers that everything's always just great and okay and rosy, or everything's just always falling apart. Wah, right? Why do they feed you those narratives, everybody? Because they're creating a certain type of audience that buys into the hopium or buys into the fear porn because they get the continuous clicks and they can feed off of your energies in order to pay their bills. Robert and I decided a long time ago that authenticity wins the day. So, yeah, it's hard out there. And I know many of you, it's tough and we kind of feel that roller coaster, but maintaining your path and not getting involved in the hopium or the fear porn really puts you on pace.
Was a lot of what Bruce and I talked about yesterday on the show too. We were talking about maintaining more or less that even keel and not going too high and then not going too low because a lot of us are experiencing a lot of those. And you get beat up on the roller coaster on the highs and the lows. I mean, it just gets. You can deal with it for a little while. I get it. Most of us can. But how many times can you go around the roller coaster before you really just lose it, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's what we're experiencing is a lot of up and down stuff. So Bruce and I have committed to our audience that we will do a Zoom call to help people specifically with that issue because I know a lot of people are dealing with that. The news is good one day not so much, and it's then you get the stacking of the bad news, and it just pushes you all the way back down. It's what they want. They want us confused. They want us dazed. They don't want us to stand in our power. That's the worst thing for the cabal is to have an empowered society. Hello.
It's crazy, and but what it's interesting you'd say that. So I had three separate conversations in the last 2 days with different people, and we all came they all came down to personal responsibility.
Yep.
And in all of them, I said something that may have shocked them. I don't know. And I said, "quote I don't give a damn about President Trump and what he does." They're like, "Oh my God, what?" I go, "Not a Trump hater. I actually really appreciate what he's done and what he's doing. But you are not empowering yourself if you're counting on anybody to pull you out of this mess. It's very dangerous. In fact, it's funny. I just posted in defense of somebody on X right before we got onto the show because she's concerned about something that she saw with Trump, and she's a huge Trump fan, and she was asking questions, and she gets beat up online. Well, do you trust him or not? How dare you? right? And it's like, my God, people, if you understand anything about President Trump, that's what he wants. He wants you to be able to be sovereign in your own right and ask the hard questions, even of him. If we don't grasp that, I'm going to say what I just said online, then you are sucking on the teat of another icon, which got us in this mess in the first place. I want to bang my head against the wall every time people say, "How dare you ask a question?" No, I want the hard questions. I never want to be put up on a pedestal. If anything, I want to be knocked down so I'm always there with we the people, right? I truly, truly believe in my heart that President Trump is the right guy for the right moment. And when the time comes, he'll be willing to answer all those hard questions. But we have to remember, Robert, and you know this well, President Trump has said many times, I've given it back to we the people. So I would like to ask people, what is their definition of we the people? Is we the people still waiting for him to come in on a white horse and save us? Or is we the people going to be part of the solution, maybe symbiotically with him, to take this over the finish line? I prefer to think it's the latter.
We have been indoctrinated throughout school to wait for authority to give us permission to take action, right? And so we're always looking to authority. And this is no different now with Donald Trump. We're looking to Donald Trump to let him signal us to us what to do. Donald Trump, no matter how good he is not going to handle things on the local level. Not going to handle anything in your local neighborhood. He's not going to be able to deal with your local police. He's going to do things what he can on a national level, and they're going to stop him or going to attempt to stop him at every turn. So the question always is, what are you going to do? And it's got to come back to us. There's no way it can't, right? We have to take action and we have to stop waiting for permission. You see what's happening in the UK. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. They're waiting. And what's happened? They're pretty much losing their country at this point.
Mm-hmm.
God, it's insane how fast it's switching. If you've been following the story at all, it's pretty sad to see.
Do
Not a
you
time to go visit England.
Right. Well, do you feel between Canada and Australia, who's farther down the uh, the death spiral out of those two countries?
Well, I think Canada is only. I can only say that because I know more. Half my family's up there in Canada and Montreal, so I know, what's going on there, and they have an enormous hatred for Trump. Oh my gosh, and I
Mm-hmm.
understand it. I mean, I can't get mad at them because their media is so censored. By the way, no news stories on Facebook can get through. They are being censored in terms of what they can watch as far as news. I mean, they're totally locked down, so they're getting one side of the story and they're just repeating what they're hearing, which
Mm-hmm.
is what human nature is, right? We do that. We don't analyze it because they don't have other sources now. It's really challenging. So Canada is not the same place I grew up in. It's very very different now, and like Carol Maureen Friesen says, I'm out of there. It's like, well, yeah, there's a lot of us that would not want to go back. I always had this idea that someday, I'd probably have the feeling when I retire or something, maybe I want to go back to Canada. Fewer people, more space, whatever. But no, the government is totally corrupt, and that they believe that Justin Castro Trudeau was actually elected the first time and then reelected a second time with all the damage that's been done to that country. They still
Yeah.
believe it because that's what all they're hearing.
Yeah. I believe out of Canada, Australia, and England, I believe Canada is the worst off. And then Australia and then England. And people would say, "Oh no, England is the worst." I go, "No, the people are rising up in England, so that should show you alone that they're not the worse off because at least they're trying to fight back. They're trying to do something." Now, so what do we look at when it comes to all the cabal operations that are going on? Let's say in California, where we live, right? It's an absolute deep state cabal state, and Canada, Australia, and England. I'm going to exclude Venezuela from this because Venezuela is a very interesting story that we can talk about and look at. But let's just look at California because to me it's virtually the same as Canada, and then you have Australia, and then you have England. What I am seeing though is we can decide whether to look at this negatively or positively. So with all the lockdowns and with all the suppression of social media and the arresting of people and the holding everybody down, right? Virtually communistic behavior in those four places. You know what I am seeing, regardless, whether you guys think it's all deep state or whether the white hats are running the show to make it look like the deep state, there's one thing that's happening in the United States and England that's not happening in Australia and Canada right now. People are waking up because of it. People are going, wow. In California, it's absolutely 100%, at least 60% conservative. There's no doubt in my mind whatsoever. People are waking up to this and they're saying, we can't have this anymore. I feel bad for Canada, but I don't think Canada is going to be saved until the United States is saved. It just feels like they're too far gone at this moment. But at least the information's getting out enough in the UK and the United States. It's not completely suppressed, where people are looking at these actions of the deep state. Again, doesn't matter whether they're white hats that are playing a part or they're bad guys. They're looking at it and they're going, "Wow, we cannot have this anymore." And
Right.
when you go too far down that path, as we know, when it reaches past critical mass, they're not going to be able to return from it. And I think these are ultimately sad currently, but very healthy for us in the future. What do you think about?
Yeah, I was looking at this today. 89 days till the supposed election. And I think more and more people, Lewis, are starting to come over to our side and saying, "Hey, it's not going to happen. There's too much going on right now that sort of leads us to believe that they'll do anything to stop it." And I agree with you. If we lose the United States, you lose the world.
You
And there
really
are a lot of people in other countries, especially right now in the UK, begging America to elect Trump, begging us to make sure he gets in power because they see it as the last hope. And if that's done, where's their beacon on the hill, right? They
right.
don't have one anymore. There's nowhere else to run, nowhere else to hide. So it's really fascinating. It is waking up a lot of people, and it's a little bit like if we went back to 2006, 2007, we were suffering from what Dan Kennedy affectionately called mass affluence. Everybody had money. Why? Because if you owned a house, the house was going up. In some parts of California, 38% increase in the housing price in a month.
I know.
It was insanity. It was going up and up and up and up. And so people had a lot of money. And what happened was we became very complacent. We didn't fight back. We kind of let things go. We're fat and happy, easy times, no problem, plenty of money, didn't worry about too much. And then there was a little bit of a wake up call in '08 when Obama came in. He literally declared a war on small business. That was us, right? Forced Obamacare on everyone and did all those kind of things and made so many other changes. But, we still had a lot of money in the bank. It didn't matter. Yeah, I was hurting a little bit. We lost some business. Yeah, okay, we wobbled a little bit, but we kind of recovered. And then we got a taste of what things could be in the 4 years Trump was there. The problem was he really didn't get to accelerate, right? So he kept it under 30 miles an hour because of all the lawsuits and all the pushback and everything. Imagine him at full speed during those 4 years, what we would have accomplished, right? So we got a taste of it, and now we're flipping in the other direction under this Biden guy. To think, well, if you're not waking up, if you're not seeing this, if you're still supporting that, at this point, I think there's no hope.
So
Just my opinion.
I talked to somebody that's a friend of ours yesterday. He
Hmm.
feels that they're just not getting the message. Like the message
Key part of it. Yep.
is unavailable to the
Hmm.
Democrats and some of the things. And I said, well, I disagree. I think the message is getting out there. I think they make a conscious choice not to hear it. So they tend to block certain channels, make sure they're unsubscribed from things, no notifications on this, and only go to portals that support their echo chamber opinion. So you're
We all
not
do
going
that, though, don't we? Except us. I mean, we have to
to.
look at the other side for the work we do, but I
Right.
think most people will do that.
Well, although I think we are on an open medium called X, and Rumble that lets the information primarily flow free. I know I have my issues with both of them, but they primarily let the information flow free. But the people that are so far in the matrix, they won't even step into the X realm for fear of they may hear an opinion that's counter to theirs. They won't even jump on a Rumble. God forbid they hear something that they don't agree with. That's
And
the
they're not coming over
I
here.
think the difference though, Robert, is that at least conservatives, they'll jump on YouTube, they'll jump on
We do,
Facebook,
yeah.
they'll
Mhm.
jump on other things like that. So, and because they don't fear the counter narrative, and I think that's the difference. In fact, they would if they hear the counter narrative, a lot of times they'll respond. Now it seems like there's such a fear of the counter narrative. The only people that would be on the left that are on looking at the counter narrative are there for one purpose, and that is to troll anybody with a difference of opinion than theirs, not to engage, but to
Yep.
troll. So my friend has a good point. I just think we're looking at it the wrong way. I don't think that's being kept from them. I believe they're literally boxing themselves out of the information. So the question we have, how on earth can we penetrate that, right? And I think there's only one way, and it's the hard way, and that's personal conversations.
Yeah.
And the reality is most of those will be shut down, and we just have to, it's like a young man dating, right? He's got to be willing to get 10, 20 no's in order to get a yes. And without having his ego shattered. It's the same thing when we're talking to people that are completely asleep. We have to be able to be willing to get the rejection over and over and over until we can get one small point in where they open up like a little flower and they start absorbing more and more. And it can happen. I see it happen daily with my wife and other people that she deals with. So it's not, and everybody will come on my chat right now and everybody's, oh, but I've never had any success. Okay, so keep going. I mean,
Keep going.
we're in a
Yeah.
war. You don't stop
Absolutely.
shooting your.
So I have, a cousin up in Montreal posting all this hatred about Trump. And it's like, well, have you ever asked how much of it is true?
Mhm.
And, when I tell them I'm 1 degree removed from Trump, they're like, no way, that's not possible. Well, my aunt used to work for him, and we happen to know 107, who's on the Trump team. And, we both consider him a friend. And, we're not removed from that very far. And we understand, what's going on. Now, if he was a total lunatic asshole, we would say that, right? Because we're not indoctrinated in that way. It's like he has to be the real deal. If he's not the real deal, we will not support blindly. And you see this blindly supporting Harris at this point. I'm like, what in the world are you guys seeing? She has 7% approval rating before they anointed her as the winner of the non-primary. you know?
So here's where all the conspiracy theorists are really, really going to love me, which is great. There's, to me, at this point, there's no way that knee pad Harris in there and tampon Tim without actually being placed in by the good guys. I cannot see that they would select the literally the worst two representatives on planet Earth for the Democratic Party. I just don't see how they would possibly do that. These are the absolute two worst. Cackling Kamala is just oh my god. I mean, what can be unburdened by what has been, right? Oh my.
That's a Marxist saying. You know that?
Ah, interesting. Did not
Yeah.
know
So
that.
what that is all what she's really saying is we want to erase history. We do not want you to think about history, where you come from, the Constitution, loving America, patriotic, all of that stuff. That's why they're getting rid of it in schools. That's why they're getting rid of the statues. Unburdened by what has been, forget about it. Now we're going to look at what's new. We're going to create this new utopia, and we only want you to focus forward.
Well,
So it's a
interesting.
Marxist thing.
Yeah, it makes sense because interesting you say that. What we have to remember, and this is where even the patriots forget, when these people are talking and saying what they want, and they're not talking to the people. They're talking about their own cabal mechanism, right? So they are going to be unburdened by what has been, because they are going to change things into their favor. Everything they talk about is anti we the people, pro cabal. Everything. And you can
If they
search.
can even get a word out.
Yeah, I bet. Hey, Dad.
Good evening.
Oh, God, don't play this video. I need a barf.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Oh, brother. There's a lot about that video going around. There's a lot of talk about it.
Okay. I would like you to play that video again, and I want everybody to look at Tampon Tim and how fake he is. That's a crazy person right there. Just watch him only. Isolate guys just on this guy, and just get your barf bag. This is a whack
Good
job.
evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah. Okay. It's in my mind, it's just a distraction. The whole thing's a distraction. There's no way this is a serious campaign. There's just no way. Yeah.
So here's what we already know. These are facts, by the way, guys. These are facts, right? Her Atlanta and Wisconsin rallies that had so much fanfare, so many people there, were both already scheduled super popular concerts that she jumped into as if it was hers. Okay? Just so you
Oh,
know. And not
yes.
all the fans there were happy about it. The other thing is you can look in the audience. They only handed the signs that were right behind because nobody. They're like, why? Why would I want a sign like this? I'm not interested in your Kamala or Tim's sign. And then they position people behind them. That was Atlanta and Wisconsin. Now the other stops that they're looking at already proven, and I dissected one of these. Absolute complete AI, I think you would call it now, Robert. AI
Yeah.
created the backgrounds, and
Yeah.
it's incredible. And if the challenges, and here's where it goes, guys, if you want to have these conversations, if a Democrat or somebody that you think is supporting them is open to it, you got to ease into it. But that you should ask them, you go, why would it be necessary to have a AI created background of people behind them if they're so popular? Why would it be necessary to walk into a concert that was already established in order to look like you have more support than you need? Is this really who you want to vote for? Saying all that, Robert, is there any even going to be an election? I still don't feel it. Do you?
I can't see it at this point, and I'm looking for that path forward, and I just don't see it. Especially today, Tehran has issued a no-fly over pretty much over the whole country,
Mhm.
and so did Turkey. So we know that that thing is going to pop at some point in the very near future here.
When I say we, the deep state, shouldn't say we, but the deep state uses this as excuses to attack other countries.
Speaking of proxies, don't be fooled. Go to the main location to find everything that Mr. Lewis is up to. He's really busy these days getting ready for the Unity Tour. And gosh, guys, you have no idea. We had a meeting yesterday about all the things that need to get done, and the list is a mile long. So you want to keep up with Lewis, want to keep up with everything, screwbiggov.com. You'll find everything there, his movies and all the cool stuff, including new swag coming. Got some really cool stuff. I actually have one of the new swag, and oh boy, it's so amazing. So yeah, screwbiggov.com. That's where you'll find everything, and you'll find me at renegademedia.tv. Renegademedia.tv, where I'm now posting under the news tab up there all the shows after the shows are done, and it's an easy way to find them if you're looking for something you may have missed along the way.
You shouldn't underplay also. Can they get to your Telegram from there? Because I spent a lot of time on your Telegram yesterday just loving it.
Yeah, they can. There's social links at the top, and the Telegram is at Renegade Media if you're on Telegram. Guys, there are three social networks you should be part of. Number one is Rumble. If you're watching us and don't have a Rumble account, sign up for a Rumble account. It gives them the signal that there are more people involved in Rumble, so it helps. Just sign up for an account. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. If you don't want ads, you just pay whatever the lowest fee is, and it'll wipe out all the ads, so you won't see ads when things start. The other one is you should at this point have an X account. Oh, I hate Twitter. I did too. I thought it was a dumpster fire. I hadn't touched my account probably in 3 or 4 years until Elon took over, and now I'm using it more. So there's that. And then the other one is Telegram. Telegram is still to this point pretty much uncensored, so you can get a lot there. There's a lot of spam, so just be careful, be aware when you click on links. Lewis and I will never reach out to you directly, so if you get a personal message that says, "This is Lewis Herms, are you loving my channel?" Lewis is not doing that. He's way too busy. I'm not doing that. I am way too busy. So just be aware of that. It is the noise, if you will, of the internet. So just stay away from that stuff. But do follow us. Get accounts on all those three networks. They're the only ones really worthwhile. I mean, Facebook at this point is so plain vanilla and so censored. It really doesn't. I don't spend hardly any time there anymore. It's really interesting. It was always on my list to do. I don't even go there anymore. There's really nothing to see. I'll post once or twice a week and answer some questions that people have, but that's about it. So, and TikTok, I don't know. I'm still on the fence. I still don't have a TikTok account.
TikTok's great. I mean,
Is it?
loving and hating TikTok. So the reason why I love it is because our message gets, if it gets traction, it gets out there so fast and grows so fast, and it's very easy to go viral on TikTok if you have a good message. The challenge is when you get attacked. Wow, they just rip you down without any any notice whatsoever. You're just gone. And it's like, what happened? It's like getting T-boned by a car traveling through an intersection when your light is green. That's how it is on TikTok. The good news is it's a beautiful platform until that happens, and that's why we're on our third TikTok. Reality, we're really on a lot more because all our truth tours got taken down and all that. But on Scroob Gov, we're on our third TikTok already, just because they just hammer you out of the blue when you start getting some traction on some videos. But it is what it is at this point, guys. We just keep going back, and you know what? We're gonna take a beating, and we'll be probably disemboweled someday in the future, laying on the side of the road. But hey, as long as you'll be able to sip on your margarita, it means we did a good job. It's crazy. It is just crazy the beating that we take.
Yeah. We always look at the stock market, right? Because that's you and I are probably we don't necessarily play there much anymore. I don't have a lot of stock, a lot of shares in anything anymore. But in the old days, yeah, I used to teach a course on trading. Actually, I used to be doing a lot of trading after having learned from the folks at the Tony Robbins world. They had an event called Financial Mastery, which I did I think 5 or 6 times and helped with it. And so we were heavily involved in it back then. But it's always important to look. And we talked about this concept called the dead cat bounce. I know it's an awful thing to think about. Technical term is that when you have a crash, the way we've had over the past, Friday and then again on Monday, there'll be a bounce. No matter how hard you throw it, it's going to bounce a little bit, and it bounces. And then you look at the trend. Where's the trend? The trend is the more important piece. It's not the daily. You get
100%.
lost. It's the trend.
Yep.
So the trend is showing us that there's a lot of weakness. It's down another 240 points today. That's not a lot. Percentage wise, that's less than 1%. It's not a lot. But again, it's lending to the trend line. Did it recover the 2.9 trillion in losses that we had on Friday and the trillion again on Monday? No, nowhere near it. So to me, it looks like the trend is still downward at this point.
So it's interesting you would say that 240-point loss is not a big loss, and it's not. Now, if you look myopically on the way the day went and the day started, it was way up for a while. So that 240 is a huge dump. So I'm wondering, and you would know better than I wonder if they saw something all of a sudden, something happened during the day, or the buybacks were just, they're like, okay, we bought all our stuff in the morning. we're good to go. And then the bad trend continued, because if you would have watched the day, I actually thought at the beginning, I'm like, wow, we may be in a very positive day. And then it just took a dump, like a
Yep.
pew. So, and
So
those are scary, by the way, when that happens. If you're in the stock market, that type of volatility in a single day freaks shareholders out, even the big ones.
so the bounce that we experienced yesterday was almost exclusively institutional buyers. The
Mm-hmm.
retail buyer, you and I, didn't jump in the market. So what you're seeing is the institutional buyers really manipulating the numbers at this point. They're playing, and I think a lot of the consumers, the retail buyers as they're known as, pretty much on the sidelines right now. They're selling what they can, and they're not in. And I still haven't had an explanation to why all the trading sites went down on Monday. That was not a coincidence. I'm sure that was planned.
Yeah, it is. And you know what's sad, and I wish people would really realize this, if they're in the market, is if you noticed, and you've probably seen this, the what gets hit the hardest when there's a crash is the 401ks,
Yep.
right? The mutual funds. They get hit the hardest. You know what recovers the slowest? The
Mutual
mutual
funds.
funds,
Yep.
right? Which
Yep.
tells you how sinister this really is. Because what happens is all the money gets sucked out from we the people and all the retirement, right? And when there's a recovery, it slowly gets back in. Now, I can liken this to the gas prices. And we talked about this before, but and the reason why I want to make this point is so important for people to learn. This is the way the manipulation goes, and it always works in the favor of the bad guys, the cabal, right? So I'll repeat. First thing to get taken advantage of when there's a crash, mutual funds take a dump. Sometimes 50, 60%. When there's a recovery, they slowly start trickling back up. Slowly. Okay? It's the exact same thing with gas prices. So when the oil prices go through a sudden hike, same day sometimes, minimum the next day, gas prices go through the roof. When the oil prices drop, they take time, sometimes a week or 2 weeks, to drop the gas prices down to balance out on the oil. So they're taking all of their profit off of the backs of we the people. So we have
Yep.
to understand this is the game they play. Now, when you take into account this, and this is the most important thing about the gas prices, it takes 6 months for the oil to go all the way, get refined, and end up at a gas station, right? So the pricing is ludicrous, anyways, and it's all a total scam. And that's why I went to really paying attention to the markets, to not wanting to do anything again about it, because it's like betting in Vegas. The advantage always goes to the house.
Yep. So I take it you have a Cybertruck on order?
Oh God, yeah. Cybertruck is my second favorite truck ever. Would you like to know the first?
Everything else.
Everything else.
Yep.
My wife calls them the cockroach. I know, so it looks like that we're not going to get a Tesla sponsor on here. Oops, screwed that one up. But
Probably not.
yeah, she calls them the driving cockroach on the road.
Okay. Where should we go here? Let's go to JD Vance talking about the crazy one that Kamala picked.
What really bothers me about Tim Walz, as a Marine who served his country in uniform, when the United States Marine Corps, when the United States of America asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, I did it. I did what they asked me to do it, and I did it honorably, and I'm very proud of that service. When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I think it's shameful to prepare your unit to go to Iraq, to make a promise that you're going to follow through, and then to drop out right before you actually have.
Yeah.
It's
Could
it's
she? That's her first decision that she had to make, right?
yeah.
She's got the nomination now. Of course, nobody voted for her, but she's got the nomination, and she had to make her first decision.
And she
And
picked
this is
the
the decision she
absolute
makes.
worst guy. The absolute worst guy. the worst guy. Everybody in Minnesota hates him. He's a just total cabal member. He in addition, I wish we had that video. There's a video of him recently where he's speaking and talking about he was carrying weapons during war. I'm like, but
He never
you never went. How exactly does that work, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Well,
but
here's his record in
Bothers me
Minnesota.
about Tim Waltz as a Marine who served his country in uniform. When the United States Marine Corps, when the United
Where do I
States
have
of
it?
America asked me to go to Iraq.
Go there. Okay, let's kill the audio there. Crime crisis under Waltz's watch. This is in Minneapolis. Homicides are up 50%. Yeah. Assault offenses up 8%. Motor vehicle theft 163%. Wow.
did
That's
you
double and a half, right?
did you know that's the number one marker to watch when you're watching the crime rate go up? Is motor vehicle
Really?
theft. Yeah. So
Wow.
where motor vehicle theft goes, everything else ends up following. That's the first one to go up because it's the
Wow.
easiest.
And robberies are up 9.5%. This is from the FBI, and the FBI, as we know, is not counting all the crime.
Yep.
So they can tell everyone, hey, Biden's doing really well. Look, the crime wave is down. We're not counting it anymore. Of course it's down.
Exactly. We're
Hello.
told we're not supposed to count it anymore, but it's down.
It's down. Yeah, it's just down, and then that's just the way that works, and so be it. Oh, brother. All right. A quick little sponsor break, if you will. We're going to talk about pets. Why not? People, we love our little animals, and why not feed them the best stuff? Lewis and I were having a conversation before, and it's like we were saying, too bad we didn't know about this stuff. For me, 15 years ago, when Thumper found us, we didn't find him. He picked us. That's just the way those things work with these cats. And too bad he wasn't on the food all along, because how healthy would he be now? I mean, we're making corrections. It certainly made a huge difference, and he's a lot more spry and jumpy, and it certainly wakes me up every morning because he has to have his super sauce in his food. But it would be really nice if you think about this in terms of prevention rather than trying to fix problems that are already there. Of course, it does both, but it would be much better if you put put your animals on the food before they need to. Screwbiggov.com/pets. You'll find out more about Pet Club 24/7. They have stuff for cats. They have food for dogs. They have stuff for horses. If you have a big dog, buy the horses. It's cheaper because the biscuits are much bigger, and you could break them up and give them to them. So just a little tip there to save a little bit of money. And they also have stuff for humans. And Bruce was telling us last night that he was using the mushroom after he got his pacemaker replaced, and the doctor was shocked at how fast he actually healed. So we hear a lot of stories like that, things we can't really talk about because, so they're hiding it under a pet food company, which I think is brilliant. But there's a lot of things that this food helps with for humans. So go check it out, screwbiggov.com/pets, and you'll find out more about why Lewis and I are massive, massive fans of this little company. And we thank them for supporting our show.
We do. Awesome.
Awesome. I think there's a problem. I saw this video this morning, and that's the first thing I picked up on. JD Vance is in trouble. No, can't be. Why is she not on administrative leave? Why is she not being trained properly? Oh, brother, the world we live in, Lewis. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna keep going here.
It is wacky. The fact that we can ask a legitimate question of, do you think the bad guys, the deep state, are intentionally giving him JD Vance, the worst possible Secret Service officer they can give him, or you do think it's central casting, and both are legitimate conversations? The fact that either one would be a legitimate conversation tells you that we live in opposite land right now.
So true. Where do I want to go first? I'm going to go to, let's see here. Now that one. I'm going to skip around just a little bit. I have my outline, but we're not following it well today. We're just bouncing around a little bit.
We're
And that's
winging
okay.
it. We're winging it.
But nobody will know that we're winging it unless we tell them. So we're not going to say anything. We're following the outline to a T, people, to a T.
Yes.
All right. We talked about the UK. To the surprise of absolutely nobody, members of Britain's left wing commentariat are demanding that the government shut down the platform X.
Didn't that happen in a border country of theirs?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I thought France did that already.
So over the past week, Elon Musk and X have become a matter of national debate in the Britain as the anti-immigration protests spread. These are the protests we've been talking about. They spread across the country. Himself has challenged British Prime Minister Keir Starmer over his response to the protests, labeling him two-tier Keir. I love that. Over his desire to crack down on native Brits while protecting Muslim communities from criticism. You think censorship, man, it's their tool, isn't it, Lewis? They just have to censor.
It really is. And I think what would serve Elon well, as we know, is it tomorrow that he's interviewing President Trump? It's coming up here soon.
Yeah, I maybe released. I think it's already done, the interview. I don't think it's released yet.
Right. Maybe they'll release it tomorrow. But
Yeah.
so I believe he would serve himself well if he would invite publicly Kamala Harris for an interview. Because when they start to censor, and she'll refuse, of course. When they start to censor, then it's very easy in saying, well, why on earth would you do this? I couldn't be any more unbiased. I invited both candidates. One just turned me down, right?
Yeah.
I would get ahead of this narrative from the start. I think if let's say he's a good guy like people are thinking, or he's a white hat, whatever we want to call him, I think that the gray hats, which other people call the white hats, are doing themselves a disservice not to make X look like it's completely unbiased. I think they're doing a disservice by going in a certain direction right now, because it'd be very easy to counter every narrative if he's like, "Hey, I wanted Kamala or Biden or whatever their next pick is going to conversation with me, and I'll be just as direct with them as I was with President Trump. What's going on?" So anytime they want to go down, because here's the way it works, and I think this is one way that we can get into the liberal mindset, right? You kind of have to do a counter move, and the way it works is the the deep state is publicly calling out Elon and saying they need to censor him, right? Because he's a threat. So the deep state's publicly doing that. So what happens is if you have a counter narrative that can attach to that immediately, that's your opportunity to have some people at least have an aha moment and go, well, wait, but he's saying that he's willing to do both. So why wouldn't she do that, right? So I believe this is how we're going to chip away. The reality, and we have to be honest, there's some people that are so indoctrinated, no matter what happens, right? We could prove to them that President Trump saved 1 million kids, absolutely prove to them, and they just don't want to hear it. There's probably going to be a segment of the population that you're never going to get to, guys. You just have to take a deep breath and give up. That's just the way it is. But I do believe there's a segment of the population that are left right now that we can still chip away at and maybe get a little bit in there with the narrative by asking them questions about their own people, right?
Yeah.
Take Trump completely out of the picture, take the conservative narrative out of the picture, and just ask questions about, like, why would Kamala not want to be on the #1 platform? That doesn't make sense. But you ask it like you're confused, scratch your head. It doesn't make, what do you think? Right?
Yeah.
And they remember, and this is very powerful, and I've been teaching this for years. The most powerful thing you could ever do is ask a question, because they may not tell you the answer or the truth out loud, but they always have to, because of the way the brain works, they will have to answer that question with inside their head.
It's called Ericksonian hypnosis. Yes, very true. Very, very, very true.
I had never heard that saying. Thank you for the education.
Okay. I serve to educate. Malcolm is saying, we love the way we do the show, Renegade Media and Lewis. Thank you, Malcolm. And Linda, be careful of what you share over there in the UK. Apparently now they're putting people in jail for resharing stuff on Twitter.
That's right.
Yeah, that's how crazy it's become. Yeah. All right. So, what's going on tomorrow there, Mr. Lewis?
We are two wild and crazy guys.
That's right. This, I think, is going to quickly become one of my best days of the week. Having these intellectual conversations. Well, on one side, Alan's the intellectual. I'm the nutbag. So, in order to have these conversations, we're going to do it every Thursday. They'll be off the cuff. We don't even have a clue what we're going to talk about. In fact, Alan even said maybe we should have a basket. So if we for suddenly we don't have a conversation, we just grab in there and there's some weird question in there that we're going to go into. We only have done one of these. We did it last Thursday, and the people, for some reason, it must be Alan, not me, but they are loving these conversations. So we're going to do it every Thursday. We'll be back here tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, and I think it will be a lot of fun. Two dudes chilling on Thursdays: Alan Fountain and Lewis Herms.
Two wild and crazy guys.
Wow!
Absolutely.
Remember that? That was Steve Martin and who else?
Wasn't it? It wasn't a Belushi, was it? No, it wasn't a Belushi.
No, you give it 10 seconds and they're going to answer in chat. Speaking of
It'll
10 seconds, you know what I noticed, which you're going to love? I counted. It took 6.5 seconds for what we do here to show up on Rumble today. So the
Yeah.
Rumble's getting better on that end also.
Fabulous. All right. We have next week SG Anon we're going to interview. And what we'd like to have is questions from you guys for SG. So Lewis is going to post that in Telegram. I'll post it in Telegram. And if you want to just email screwbiggov@protonmail.com, that would help as well. Any questions you have for him about all the current events, everything that's going on, I'm going to compile all the questions. I'll feed it to him ahead of time. Why would I give it to him ahead of time? I want the best answers possible. I'm not trying to make him prove that he's great and wonderful and everything. I want the best, most researched answer that he can give. And so I asked him about that, and he said, yeah, that would be great. He doesn't mind getting questions off the cuff, but I think, it'd give him a little heads up, and he can bring probably more than he could if you're just talking off the top of his head. So if you guys want to do that, you want to ask questions, that would be the way to do it. Just post it in Telegram or screwbiggov@protonmail.com, or you can email me, robert@renegademedia.tv. I'll take the emails too. And we'll have him on. He'll be on our Tuesday show next week.
Yep, that'll be
And
awesome.
yeah, it's going to be awesome. It
I guess
always is. I mean,
the answer is Steve Martin's partner was Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd. That's right. I would have never caught that. All right, so there's a fellow on X. This is going to be a long sojourn. Stick with us, people, because I think you're going to be very happy when you leave this show today. You're going to be smiling ear to ear, I'm going to tell you. All right. Did you follow what the heck is going on in Georgia today?
Georgia.
I know how many streets are called Peach. There are quite a few.
That's so true. So true.
Yeah, I've been to Georgia a few times. It's
wait. Correction, Martin Short. That's who I thought it was too. Now there's a fight it's Martin Short, Dan Aykroyd fight in chat. It's live. Oh, Dan Aykroyd hits him. Martin Short missed him because he's so short. We'll see what happens. I'm sure we could just Google it, you guys. Oh my God, did I say go to Google? Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead, Robert.
So the Georgia State Election Board has been meeting, and they have been voting today. And this fellow George on X has been kind of live posting every time a vote goes through what they're voting on. Mm-hmm. And it's like Christmas for us. It's like win after win after win.
Yeah.
So this is a shocking one. The Georgia State Election Board couldn't believe it when election expert Garland Favorito told them that Dominion voting machines in Georgia have a defect that causes in-person ballots that are accepted by scanners not to be counted. Huh. Who would have guessed that? They voted to accept Garland's petition for a new rule requiring election workers to write down the vote totals from each ballot scanner to compare them to what the machine ended up counting. They're not going to match. The poll manager and 2 witnesses shall record the count of ballots from the tabulation tape on the recap form. If the poll manager or witnesses have reason to believe that printed tapes are not a true and correct tabulation of the ballots scanned by the ballot scanner, The poll manager or witness shall document the reasons and evidence for that belief and inform the election superintendent, bureaucracy, who shall take the appropriate action in his or her direct discretion so that the ballots in the ballot box associated with the ballot scanner are accurately tabulated. That's kind of cool. So now we have another checksum. Then a little bit later, they now then voted to accept a new rule requiring counties to preserve voting memory cards, which contain ballot images, audit logs, etc. This came after they discovered 1.7 million ballot images were missing from the 2020 election. Garland Favorito presented his findings and the proposed rule. He gave the board no choice but to move forward with it despite pushback from Democratic member who tried to argue it would cost too much money. This is yet another great change in Georgia that will go a long way to stop the election. Then another vote. Here we go. Georgia State Election Board just voted to accept a proposed new rule that requires Postal Service to provide tracking. Boy, really? How are they going to do that, Lewis? Tracking for mail-in ballots and chain of custody for undeliverable ballots. So if and when that fraud happens, we can now track it.
So they're currently going after the sitting attorney general there. The current governor, if I'm saying this right, Hobbs, was the previous Secretary of State, and that's really where they should be focusing on, because it was the crimes were committed under her watch and put her in at the same time. So again, I'm concerned that our attention's focusing in the wrong way, which is very Freemason-like. I'm not trying to scare people, but it's very Freemason-like, because the left hand is doing this, but the right hand's really what we should be paying attention to. So she's not even being mentioned. She's completely exonerated. She's a false governor, and she did very illegal things as Secretary of State. So it's we got to watch all of these, but we have to try to discern, and this is tough. I know you do a good job at this, but we have to discern, is this a diversion? Is this just kind of give us a little carrot so we back off? Or is this good stuff, right? And I think we need to be open-minded about this and try to really, really dig in and figure out what's going on.
This is breaking. Nevada Republican Party and the Trump campaign just forced election officials in Clark County, Nevada, to remove rules.
Yep.
So it seems like, Lewis, we're chipping away at it, but damn, is it late in the game. I mean, 89 days till election day. It is really, really late.
Yep, and that's my biggest concern. And intentionally, by the way, folks, your standing deep state, this is what they do. They always make their moves to appease we the people when it's too late, because it's purely for optics and nothing else, right? So we have to watch this very, very closely. If the floodgates open up, which I hope they do within the next week or two, I feel a lot better about these decisions, right? Now, the good news is we all know these cowards need precedence. So the good news is now they're seeing the country, maybe the floodgates will open up, and I'm optimistic that they will. But again, we just have to take a deep breath and be very honest about what we're seeing, because this could just be a complete diversion and manipulation. And what do they say? Too little, too late. We'll see.
Well, there's a couple of things here. This could be, like we're seeing in the stock market, it could be an up day. And what we want to look is for the trend, right? We want to look at that, because I know Donald Trump said, hey, they're not going to be able to steal it this year. We're going to block them. And we are going, what the hell is he talking about? We haven't seen anything. And all of a sudden, these things are starting to roll out. If it continues to roll out. Now, Tina Peters is having some good luck today in her trial. She's on trial in Colorado for doing her job, strangely enough. So, I've been watching that a little bit, and Dominion Machines is the one they're on the stand today, and they really can't defend themselves, which I find kind of fascinating. It's like you think they'd be able to do better than they did today. So, what if we have a win there? That would be really good too. So again, we're looking at the trend. Are we going to start to chip away at this? It's very late in the game. God, we had 4 years, and now we're down to the last 89 days, and now we're going to start to see wins. Okay, the hard fought, I guess.
So I'm very familiar with the Tina Peters, and I've talked to Tina Peters a few times. I'm now in contact with her team directly, and this interesting. She did nothing illegal. She copied what she thought was fraud, and she's correct. Pretty
Right.
simple, right? And
Mhm.
that's what she should have done. Here's the thing, and you're right. If she can win this, it's a huge deal. Why is it a huge deal? Because it is in Colorado.
Yeah.
In
Blue state.
Colorado, what's that?
It's a blue state.
Right. Well, yeah, but it's a deep state CIA operated blue state. So if she can have a win there in Colorado, this really bodes well for us. So let's keep an eye on it. But we've seen many times the people we're rooting for have these little what we consider wins during a trial, and they end up losing because the judge is still corrupt and ignores the evidence that we think is so obviously a
Right.
win. So again,
We
let's
saw
pay
that with Carrie
attention
Lake.
with the run. I'm sorry.
We saw that with Carrie Lake and her trials.
Yeah, I'm gonna dispute a little
I know.
bit.
I know. I know.
I don't think Carrie Lake's attorneys did a good job at all. I almost
No.
feel like they had no intention of winning that whatsoever, which is a thing that pisses off a lot of Carrie Lake people. Well, again, are you just sucking on the teat of the Lake team, or do you just want the truth? The fact is, I know personally, firsthand from somebody, they had all the information in their hand to present that would have given them a win multiple times, and her team never presented the evidence.
Yep.
So why? Maybe it's just part of a big white hat move, so forth. I have been told that the Trump team needs to keep certain people in the appearance. I can't tell you too much. How do I say this? Trump team needs to keep certain people close and in the appearance that they're on the same team for now. But they know exactly what's going on. You guys make of it what you will. All I can say is the facts. The facts are Carrie Lake's team had evidence certain times that should have taken it back for her and Abe Ahmadine, and not one time did they ever present that evidence. That's a concern, and it should be a concern for anybody, whether you like Carrie or not. And I can tell you, Wendy Rogers, she's just an absolute grifter. So, and we know that firsthand. So, it is what it is. We have those people inside the Republican Party. I hope Carrie had her reasons, and I hope she's a good person, and I hope she wins the election, and that'll be fantastic for us if she does the right thing. I'm definitely concerned about the way her case was presented. I think it was done intentionally wrong, and I'm concerned why.
Yep. So, rumor has it you've been sitting on your hands a lot lately, not doing anything, because there's nothing coming up in your future, nothing happening in September. So you've just been sitting back and enjoying summer, huh?
Yeah, and it's just I'm tanning every day, right? I'm playing in the grass, spending a lot of time in the jacuzzi. I'm traveling, just to exotic destinations, and I'm sleeping at least 12, 14 hours a day. So it's beautiful. It's a wonderful life
Beautiful.
right now. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, or maybe I'm not. Maybe, just maybe there's something happening on September 3rd. Let me tell you what's happening on September 3rd, real quick. September 3rd appears to be the end of amnesty for the deep state cabal. Interesting enough, September 3rd seems to be the same day that President Trump is going to drop his book, where on the cover he's in the fight, fight, fight pose, called Save America. September 3rd happens to be the day where the song and video To Unite will be released globally. And September 3rd happens to be this little thing that we're kicking off called the Unity Tour.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Hi.
Yes, you're going to be on the road, but you really don't need one because Esther, oh my, as Bruce put his heart and soul into fixing that thing up.
It's amazing. Amazing. Fell off and almost hit him.
Wow.
So and me being the creator and head person of Unity Tour, I'm like, oh, thank God it happened now. Oh, sorry, Bruce. I mean, thank God it didn't hurt you. Oi.
Uh, wow. Yeah, he was on the show yesterday, and he had said he couldn't put the awning down because it was so windy, and the sun was coming in. And it was so hot in there. So, yeah, I get that thing's like a giant kite when the wind hits it.
Yeah, today it fell, literally fell. It ripped off the side of it. He showed me the pictures. He's such a
Wow.
trooper with Esther, but if it keeps going, Bruce, Esther will be completely remodeled by the time we leave with the sweat of your back and brow.
I don't know how you're going to manage on the road for that many days and that many stops and that many cities. It just seems like an exhausting program, but you're young, you're spry, you're going to do it, and you've got Neumi on your back, so you're going to be okay, right?
The reality is we have the right supplementation, we have the right attitude, where I'm exercising, and we have joy, love, and the guidance of God. So I believe this is going to be epic. Everybody needs to go to unitytour.us, register. We need you to register. It's free. We just need you to, all you do is put your name in there, and if you want notifications, register for unitytour.us. Tell us what stop you're going to be at so we can prepare ahead of time for how many people will be there, and we will have an absolute blast. I have a feeling, folks, this will be an historical event that you're going to be able to tell everybody about in the future. So if you're thinking about missing it, you might be making a mistake. I don't want you to regret it. And I'm pumping it so hard, and we get nothing financial out of it. This is free. I just I just have this feeling that these events are going to be something to be talked about for decades to come.
Outstanding. And something we do get paid for. We like to talk about our buddy Lance and his company, Ascent Nutrition. Really good, high quality nutrition. I got my pine pollen extract here, and I got the berberine in the other room, taking that every day and helping with blood sugar issues. You know, as you get older, the blood sugar tends to creep up. You get a little bit of insulin resistance, and berberine helps with that. If you want to know more, just go watch the interview we did with Lance about a week ago, and he shared a lot of information on that. You can go to screwbiggov.com/health, screwbiggov.com/health, find out more about Lance's amazing products, including, you see that bag of coffee, those bags of coffee there. Really, really, really great coffee. Some people can't wake up without it. I understand. It tastes so much better than the crappy coffee you get commercially. So we thank Lance for supporting us. We love him, and we love everything that he has to offer as well.
Awesome. And just to be proactive, back to the Unity Tour. Again, go to unitytour.us if you'd like to volunteer. We need volunteers in every city, as many as we can possibly get, and security for sure. We are being proactive. We're going to contact the local police in every single city. Let them know ahead of time we'll be there. Many times they'll show up and as a support system for us. So should be a nice, vibrational, fun event. By the way, that's what we will be explaining to them also, and I think it's going to work out into our favor.
It won't be an event where there's going to be a lot of discordance, right? We're going to be in sync with everybody, which I think is really cool.
Yep, it'd be really cool.
Lots of love, lots of camaraderie. It's an opportunity to meet new friends, make new friends, shake hands, get a couple of hugs, maybe grab a T-shirt on the way out the door. You know, a lot of things you can do there. Certainly in here, we're going to start releasing the list of speakers too. So there's going to be different speakers at every stop. So a lot of the people you know, a lot of the truthers that you listen to regularly will be at many of these stops. So you'll get a chance to meet a lot of them in person.
And what we will not do is I will not tell you what speakers will show up where. because I would hope that you're supporting the unity within your community. Ooh, that's good. I have to remember that. So if you're supporting the unity within your community, you shouldn't care what speaker shows up at your particular spot. If you do, maybe we're still operating on that selfish nature, right? This is a different type of tour. So yes, some major names that you've heard have already committed. So it's going to be pretty badass. But I've asked them if they want to tell you where they're going to be, that's fine. But I'm not going to say where they're going to be. You should show up, support your local one, and if somebody you love happens to be there, fantastic. If not, I guarantee you're still going to have a good time.
Sounds like a box of Cracker Jacks. You never know what you're going to get. You know there's a prize in there. You just don't know what it is.
I love that. Great analogy.
I'm aging myself. I don't think Cracker Jacks are still made, are they?
Oh, I bet you they are. Yeah,
Uh, yeah, that's
I
something I've
know.
been around
I
for
know
many years.
somebody. His son owns a bunch of. Uh, they call them rocket fizzes, where you can get old school stuff. And my guess is they're probably still sold there as a novelty at minimum.
I gotta tell you,
That's Robert's elbow for
I did
sale at
get
Target.
I did get a box of that, a whole box of retro candy.
Oh, interesting. Yes.
That was a birthday gift for my brother. I mean, you got the candy buttons. Remember the candy buttons?
Yep. Yep.
And Chuckles and Dots. I don't know. I don't remember Dots. Do you remember Dots? I
Oh,
remember the.
I do remember dots, and here's why. So, I was a latchkey kid. So, what my mom would do at least once a month, she would take me to the movies, right? Because I had to get something, right? She's like, which I thought was great. And her deal, she would always buy dots. And the reason why is because she used to chew, I think they were called juicy fruits or something. There was a harder candy, right?
Oh,
And they would stick to her teeth. So she couldn't
yep.
could, she couldn't separate her teeth very well. So we switched to dots. So yeah, I do remember dots. Like anybody
How about
cares about
candy
my story.
cigarettes?
Remember those you blow out to make it smoke, right? Talk talk about predictive programming and conditioning,
I
grooming
tell
us,
you,
right?
Nikos were good. We used to have these a lot.
I don't remember those.
The Nico wafers. Yeah, they're sugar. That's all they are. What else do we have in here? Uh, I don't remember that one at all. Oh, Mike and Ike. Remember Mike and Ike?
Love
Oh, you
Mike and
can't see
Ike.
it. It's green. Look at that. It goes away.
Yeah, that's cool. Love Mike and Ike. And yes, Tom Jujubes. That was correct.
Juju beans. Smarties, I thought was a Canadian thing. You'd have Smarties here in the United
Yeah,
States?
absolutely. They were popular.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. Well, I was looking for. Remember the bubble yum, the giant bubble gum?
I do.
Yeah. I got Bazooka. Hey. Remember the comic was always in there. That was always fun. Anyway, we can have a lot of fun going back in nostalgia, and there's a lot going on. I posted in the chat room if you guys want to send in your questions for SG and on, please do that. Screwbiggov at protonmail.com or Robert at renegademedia.tv. And both Lewis and I will post on our Telegram channels. We'll collect as many questions as possible and feed SG as many as he's willing to answer. It's very kind of him to give us his time because I know he's really, really busy. Everybody's asking him to be on their shows right now because, well, there's a few things going on in the world, aren't there? And he's really good, by the way, at the Middle East. So if you really want to understand more about that, he's probably the guy to ask about it.
He did say we were the best, so that's probably why you were able to squeeze him in.
Yeah, he did. We actually met him in person, so we got to see his face and see who he is. He's a really, really kind fellow, very intelligent, very modest. He doesn't come up with a big ego.
No, not at
He's
all.
yeah, he's really, really nice. And they want to interview. He wants to interview Lewis, so we're going to make that happen. We're going to get Lewis on SG's show as well, so that'll be a lot of fun. He's very, very much a fan of what Lewis has been doing. Corporatocracy, corpocracy. Is
Corpocracy.
that
Yes, I changed the
corpocracy?
definition of it, which he appreciated.
Okay. So yeah, he wants to interview you on that. So we're going to get that set up as well. And I know for those of you who are wondering where Lewis is going to be, he's going to pop up on a lot of podcasts over the next month prior to the Unity Tour to let everybody know. And if unitytour.us doesn't work, just go to screwbiggov.com. We're having a problem with that domain. And until that's resolved, may just go to screwbiggov.com and there's a Unity Tour button at the very top. Just click there and you'll get all the information. That's an easier way to do it.
Boom, bada bing.
Bada bing! Thank you all. We love you much. We appreciate all your comments. I go back and I read the chat room. I love to see what you guys are talking about. Both chat rooms. I read the SBG and mine just to see what's going on in there. And, it makes a difference. So we appreciate you. Appreciate your support, your love, your likes, your follows. And we got a lot to do.
Sure
Two
do.
wild and crazy guys tomorrow. Look for it. It'll be fun.
Take
Thanks,
care,
Lewis.
y'all. Thank you.